Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode. Feel free to minimize the window as again this is going to be another chat about sort of pairs, matrices, and obviously as you can tell from the title, tips on sort of pairs matrix and also on rowing testing in general. But first we'll go over how today went. As I spoke about yesterday, today was the other half of the stroke size stroked part of the matrix. So again, I'm in the bow seat, which isn't my forte, but I think I made some good changes from yesterday from the learning experience and had some good runs, and we'll see how the times are. Still don't know the results, so hopefully tomorrow we'll find them out. So what we're doing tomorrow is switching the riggers around so that it is bow stroked or starboard stroked in the pairs, and then paddling with every combination, and then starting the other part of the matrix later on in the week, which is the day itself is yet to be determined, but we'll see how that goes later on. But overall, positive, learned a good amount and also applied what I learned rather than sort of learning something and then not having a chance to apply it or not being able to apply it. So that is good for my future if I do row in the bow again. But like I said, the stroke seat is where I am stronger, and so hopefully I get to show that in the next part of the matrix at the end of the week. But tips on rowing, testing, or pairs matrices. So all of these tips really apply to testing where it's back to back, and what I mean by back to back is so like the pairs matrix where you do one race, have a short break, do another race, have a short break, do another race, have a short break, etc, etc, until you're finished with the tests for the day. But all of these tips apply to that kind of testing, so it could be in 8s and 4s and any other boat, just really when it's back to back, and some of them will apply to other testing as well. So one thing when you do have pieces back to back is recovery becomes hugely important. And it's not just a case of the usual sort of food is fuel and getting enough sleep and putting your feet up so you're not expending too much energy. If you only have between an hour and 2 hours between each flat out effort, then you have to almost try and accelerate that recovery. And so what can you do to accelerate said recovery? Well, there's to a certain extent, keep moving. So you don't want to sit still for too long in between the races, because then the lactic acid in the body can just sit and not really get processed. The muscles can become stiff, but also obviously you don't want to just run around for the break. You want to sort of strike a balance between keeping moving but also not expending too much energy. And also during the break, what I find really helpful, and really when it's a really flat out piece, to make you sort of feel better almost immediately. You've all had that feeling when you've had a horrendous workout and you're just feeling and one way to combat that feeling is to get some really quick sugars in, and so that could be any number of sweets. It is one opportunity to eat some sweets. I personally like to have honey, literally just honey. And obviously not a lot, but just enough so it sort of quickly replenishes the glycogen you've used over the previous flat out effort. So it's just a little bit of things like that can help accelerate the recovery. So keep moving, but not too much, and having some quick sugars right after your race. So if that is in the footwell, so you finished your piece and then you quickly have, that's honey or some just jelly sweets or whatever it is you might want, and it's easily accessible. So it's not as effective if you have honey and you've left it in the car and you have to finish the piece, paddle the boat in, sort the boat out, and then get to your car and then get the honey. So you want to be able to have the quick sugars as accessible as possible to feel like you have a bit more energy back in the system during the recovery and then on to the next race. And also, speaking of recovery, it doesn't just apply to in between races, especially if you're doing testing over multiple days. You have to make sure that you're ready to go for the next day or the next day, and depending how many tests and how many pieces you have to do, you have to be able to recover overnight and get ready for the next day of testing. So that obviously means you fuel up right, because remember, food is fuel, and you spend as little energy as possible so you're ready for the next day. So again, moving around, but not too much, so that your legs can get moving or your body can be moving, but also not moving that much that you're spending loads of energy that you might need for the next days of racing. So I'm not saying go and carbo load and all that stuff, but making sure you have the right amount of carbs, the right amount of protein, and the right amount of sort of recovery fuel that you feel is good for you. So last night for me, I had a lot of chicken. So really simple, really easy to digest. Chicken, rice, and vegetables. So I barbecued chicken, peanut butter stuff, some lovely vegetables, and just some rice. So really simple, but I had a lot of it last night, fueling me back up, letting my body restore and repair, so then I can go at it today as hard as I possibly can, and then obviously using the recovery tips in between the races to make sure I can maintain as high a intensity as I can. And now moving on to another tip, a huge part of any of the races, I kind of spoke about it yesterday, it's all about what you can do. And that goes with everyone. It's not just me or the next person, it's what you as an individual can do. So for my testing today, I want to try and make the boats go as fast as I can make them go. I spoke about yesterday that you don't really know how fast everyone's going, because some people can't quite judge how fast they're going. Some people like to tell little bit of a white lie to say they're going faster or slower than they are, and so you can't quite judge until you see the final times. So all you can really do is make the boat go as fast, and as in my case today, my pair partner, as it can possibly go. It is not up to another pair to make us go faster. It's not up to the coaches. It's not up to any of the Yam squad even. It is down to you when it comes down to the actual race or the piece itself. So really have confidence in the training that you've done. Really have confidence in your ability, and also you can't change, you can't suddenly get fitter, you can't suddenly say, if I do this completely different, I might be able to get some extra splits and then change everything and go really fast. You'll go really fast by giving it your all in the framework that you know how to give it your all. If you suddenly change things up, then yes, it may work, but the chances are you'll go slower than if you stick to your guns and do what you're best at. So that's a really big thing. Just making sure you're controlling what you can control, which is pretty much yourself and only yourself. You can't control anyone else. You can't control other people. So stick to your personal attributes and have confidence in yourself. And that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Just some tips on sort of what I really think are the biggest things to get the most out of yourself for rowing testing, and that is really just making sure that you recover properly, not just overnight but also in between the pieces. And I think having those quick sugars can really actually make a big impact on, at the very least, how you feel, and it kind of takes a bit of experimentation to find out what quick sugars work for you. So it could just be some jelly snakes, it could just be some foamy shrimps, but you can kind of figure it out for yourself, because everyone's that little bit different. And you work on that, and just sometimes some sweets sit better than others, or whatever you think, whatever quick sugars you work with could work better for you and not for other people. And obviously recovery at all times is really important, but becomes even more important during testing. And again, have confidence in your ability, and your ability to move the boat, and your ability to go as fast as you possibly can, because you can only go as fast as you can. Someone else can't make you go as fast as you can, only you can. You can? And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. When I find out the results, which will probably be tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. And again, we'll continue the chats, continue the updates throughout the week as we go through the rest of the testing. And I'll see you tomorrow after some paddling, but this time in the stroke seat. Oh yeah!